Hello, everyone. How's it going? You know who this is. You know what's going on because you've read the title. Basically, I'm more or less 1 week into my lovely period of unemployment, and I just wanted to talk about what's going on, some of my thoughts and feelings on the whole thing, and, what I've been up to this week. Um, well, pretty much. I guess what I've been up to is I've been basically doing two things more than anything else. I've spent the bulk of my time, obviously, job searching, which basically involved a few resume revisions and applying for a shitload of jobs. I've probably applied for 60 or 70 jobs this past week. I'm not exaggerating. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. I've gotten a few formal fuck yous. Only two or three of those, thankfully, so far. Um, and by fuck yous, I mean we've decided to go with other candidates. Just the canned responses you get when you get the little rejection letters. Gotten a couple of those. Probably I have a few irons in the fire that I'm with some of the recruiters I'm working with. There are a few interesting positions I'm waiting to hear back on, but I have a few highlights to share with you guys because honestly, I found them funny. One of the people I talked to this week um, asked me, it might have been, there was one in-person experience that I'll tell you about here in a moment. I can't remember if this was the in-person experience or just one of the myriad of recruiters I spoke with who asked me this question. The absolute dumbest question I was asked, because, of course they asked me what happened with my last job. So basically, the answer I've been giving, because it's truthful and it's not overly negative about that organization, and it doesn't paint myself in a negative light either, as I say, the reason I'm not working there anymore is I was asked to leave because the organization felt it was not a good cultural fit because the person who I replaced had been working there for 25 years, and from my understanding, he was an extremely quiet and reserved person. I never met him, I don't know personally, but I am not the most quiet and reserved person ever, and I guess a few folks didn't like that, and that was pretty much enough for me to be asked to leave. And that's more or less the answer I give. And the dumbest question asked was, they asked me, did you regret leaving your previous employer to go work, basically 2 employers ago? Do you regret leaving that employer to work for basically the employer that fired you? No, not at all. In fact, it was my fucking plan when I left that former employer, to go there. I was hoping I would get fired 9 months later. I was totally like just thinking to myself, what would be awesome and make my life so much better is if I take this other job, and then 9 months later I get fired for a really stupid, banal, asinine reason. That would be fucking top notch. I don't regret that decision at all. What a fucking stupid question to ask somebody. Fucking dumb as fuck. These people. Anyway, I of course didn't tell them they were dumb as fuck. I just said, yeah, obviously I regretted that decision. But at the time, I thought it was the correct decision because when I took this other job, it was what I thought was a better working environment and more money. So who's going to say no to that? But anyway, it wouldn't surprise me if I was asked that question again by some other fucking retard. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. So, the in-person experience I had, I'll tell you a little bit about that. Basically, what happened there was my wife has actually been a lot of help to me this week. She has basically, she'll sit there on her computer and she'll just sit there and she'll email me like, I don't know how she does it. She finds more job listings than I do somehow. God bless her, right? And she sends me a ton of listings. A lot of what she sends me, I'm either completely not interested in or completely not qualified for. But it's not like she knows exactly what I'm qualified for. She knows I do IT. She knows a little bit about what I do, but, she doesn't. I've never really explained it to her in depth because she would probably die of boredom, as I'm sure probably anyone who's not in the field would. So she sends me a lot of stuff, but honestly, a lot of stuff that she sends me is absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that she sent me was on Tuesday. She's like, hey, there's a job fair nearby the house, and it starts at it was 2:30 or something. She's like, the job fair's happening, like it starts at 3. It's like, really? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I look at it, and it's for this company, it's mostly construction, like welding and construction thing, and also IT support that was in there. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm like, I'll probably be the only person there for IT support. So if I go to this thing, I should, probably get in and out of there real quick. And, maybe this will have a little more impact than me just putting a resume, online, right? So I shave real quick, shave my face, shave my head, put on decent work clothes, get in my car, and go to the happy fucking job fair thing, right? So I get there, and I'm looking around at all the other people there, and clearly most of them are just there for labor/construction work. I can tell by the way they're dressed, because they're not dressed like I was. They were dressed basically like I'm dressed now, t-shirts and pants, or t-shirt and jeans, basically. And I'm obviously dressed in the gay-ass business casual shit that a lot of us are forced to wear. So, and there's only one other person who showed up for the job fair dressed like that, and it was a woman. And I'm not being sexist, but not too many women do IT support, so I'm assuming that she was probably there for some other office position, and I overheard her talking, and sure as shit I was right. But anyway, I get there, and they asked me if I had submitted a resume online. I said no. I said, in fact, I just completely randomly heard about this about a half hour before. And they're like, well, okay, can you just do an online application real quick? And they handed me a computer, right? I'm like, sure, fine. So, it takes me about, me being me, it takes me 2 or 3 minutes only to fill this thing out. Because, well, being an IT person, I would hope I could get through something like that pretty quick. So I get through it fairly quickly. I hand them my resume, and then basically I'm told to wait. So I wait. And I wait. And I wait some more. For about 40 fucking minutes. Right? Then they finally, basically link me up with some dingbat. Who was there for this is the person who knows about the office stuff. It's like, okay, great. So I talked to her, and she asks me pretty irrelevant questions. She obviously doesn't know anything about the position at all. Nothing. She's asking me irrelevant kind of stupid questions, and just going through the motions a little bit. And then somebody there is like, let's see if we can get, the people in the IT department on the phone for you to actually talk to. See if we can Skype them or whatever. I'm like, great. Fantastic. Let's do that. Of course it doesn't happen because they're all otherwise engaged. And I'm thinking to myself, why in the fuck would you have IT support on this thing and not really even give me a real shot? Because in the posting it listed, oh, you're going to have on-the-spot interviews and it's going to be great. You can talk to somebody and, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right. I guess if I was low-level labor, sure, why not? But for what I do, that clearly wasn't the case, because I guess they correctly assumed not too many people would show up for that role. So, basically, I didn't get to talk to anyone. They said, well, we'll pass your resume along. You should hear something, blah, blah, blah. Well, went through the rest of the week. I heard literally nothing, right? So that was fantastic. I might as well have just submitted my resume online. I don't think me showing up put me ahead of the curve or anything like that. They had free pizza. That totally fucking made it worthwhile. Yeah, right. So basically, when I was done, I took some pizza. There was a park next to where I went, so that was kind of nice. So I went to the park, went to a picnic table, ate my pizza, then I went home. That's pretty much what occurred then. And then the other, I would call it fun experience that I had is basically one of the recruiters that I spoke to over the last week was with a company that had previously placed me in a contract position. Now, she wasn't the same person that had placed me in the contract position because it had been like 3 years since I had worked that contract position. But, it was the same organization, same company. So she's like, oh, hey, there's this role, that we have with this small company that, uh, you know, we think you'd be a good fit for. So I'm like, okay, send me over the details. They send me over the details about this company. I actually made a video about this specific company 3 years ago. Basically, if you want to search it, the title of the video is "A Job Offer is Worthless Unless It's in Writing." It was about that fucking company that they wanted to submit me to. So I figure out what the company is, and I email the woman back like, thanks for sending this over, but I actually dealt with this company 3 years ago, and they gave me a job offer, but it was verbal. The job fell through, and they never told me. I basically had to hound them to figure out if the job was going to happen or not. They didn't really follow up with me, and I found the whole thing to be extremely unprofessional on their part. I said, now, if things have dramatically changed at that company in the last 3 years, I'd be willing to talk to them again. And from this fucking bitch recruiter, of course, silence. Silence. She didn't even respond to my concerns whatsoever. So that was really irritating. I get that you're busy, right? But I don't expect giant responses to things. But at least an acknowledgement or a follow-up or something, a fuck you, anything, would be better than just silence, right? So obviously that left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. And as far as those are probably the quote most memorable things that happened to me. Other than that, I've pretty much been doing standard stuff as far as job searching goes. I've been I'm in a whole lot of initial discussions with a whole bunch of recruiters. It hasn't amounted to a hill of fucking shit yet. So hopefully, going into week 2, something good happens. I actually checked the last time I filed for unemployment. It was basically 12 or 13 days from the first day that I filed for unemployment till I got, my first approval for unemployment. I filed my first week of unemployment benefits today because you do it every Sunday. But I probably won't get approved until middle to end of this coming week, which is whatever. That's the way the cookie crumbles. If I get 2 weeks of unemployment benefits at once, that's fine. And that kind of brings me to the more of a rant part of this whole thing. And that is the social safety net in this country is pathetically bad, right? The fact that when you get fired from a job, it can take up to 4 weeks to get unemployment benefits when you lose a job is ridiculous, right? I mean, when you lose a job, you need money, you need benefits right now, not 4 weeks from now. The only reason this has not been a complete disaster for me up yet, doesn't mean a disaster is not coming, is the fact that I still have a few $1,000s saved from my tax return that I got this year. I easily could have spent that. Thankfully, for some reason, mostly I guess because I'm a cheap ass, right? I had been holding on to some of that money. I had spent some of it, but I had been holding on to, $3,000-4,000, something like that. And I was like, it just never got spent. And I'm really, really glad that I held on to it, because if I hadn't, I'd be completely, completely, completely fucked right now. So I do have enough to float me through until the unemployment benefits start coming in. Now, if I don't get unemployment benefits, or there's a delay or something, then I will be in trouble, and I will have to just take anything that I can possibly get as soon as possible. I won't be able to be remotely selective about what job I get. I'm not to that point yet, but I could very easily see myself getting there. I don't have a giant sum of money saved, that's for sure. And the other thing that's fucked in this country is basically the only way you can get public assistance besides just unemployment benefits. You basically have to have like no money at all. The fact that right now I have like, I don't know, I think total in all my bank accounts, like between me and my wife household, maybe around $5,000, which is not a lot, right? But to get any sort of like food stamps or cash assistance or anything like that, you have to have $1,000 or less. So basically, you're almost rewarded by the government for being irresponsible. You have to be absolutely destitute before they'll give you anything, which is fucked, right? And the fact that I don't have health insurance right now is totally fucked. But that, again, that is I'm gonna make a special video about that maybe tomorrow or something. So, I am getting by barely right now. I am doing what I have to do to get another job, but I'm dealing with a lot of morons in the process, because that's just part of the game. And, the other thing that I've been doing is getting stuff basically prepped to sell online. Basically, I'm putting everything on like Craigslist, Letgo, Facebook Marketplace, all that shit. So that has taken up an insane amount of my time as well, just finding stuff that I'm willing to part with that I can sell and be done with it. But sadly, that's a one-time process, because once it's sold, it's not like I can resell it. So, So anyway, that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this, got something out of it. I'm hoping something good happens next week. Who knows? Something great could happen. Nothing could happen. We'll see. So anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Live long and prosper.